Hey, everybody, welcome to Fictionology. This is Gideon,
And this is Bartikins.
and we are coming to you with commentary and a review of the new Star Wars Squadron CG short called Hunted. Um, this one's really interesting for me because, as big of a Star Wars fan as I am, I don't have much experience with um, the Starfighter games and the spaceship games other than that function in the original Battlefront 2. So, Bartikins, this is more your wheelhouse. What do you know about Star Wars Squadrons?
Well, first I'm going to correct you because as kids, you and I used to play the Jedi Starfighter game on the Xbox,
Oh,
if you
oh,
remember.
I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yes.
this is kind of a more advanced version of that, maybe akin to the old X-wing Tie Fighter series
Yeah, I
in the
mean, I've
'90s.
heard of them. I know they're very
Mm.
highly acclaimed. They were like early mid '90s PC
Yeah,
games.
right, right, and very
Yeah.
highly acclaimed. And it's about time that we get some more. It may not be simulation, but it may be a little bit more in depth than the Battlefront, the modern Battlefront 2 flying, right?
Yeah.
So
I I
I look
I
forward to it.
I have heard from, again, my limited exposure to Squadrons, that it is supposed to be more in depth than what we're used to. Like, apparently the gauges and the
Right.
displays on the starfighters are relevant. You'll have to track all of it.
It should
Um,
be. I hope so. That's what I would hope. And I'm a big fan of sim flying, anyways. So
gotcha.
I think that would be great.
Now I do know as well, in terms of the narrative, it takes place after the Battle of Endor. At this point, the Empire is essentially, it's fragmented. Unlike in what we now call Legends, the Empire didn't really persist as an organized unit after the death of
Hmm.
the Emperor. In canon, Palpatine's death pretty much shattered the Empire, and it's all a bunch of different, like, warlords and fiefdoms and things like that. And
Right.
the rebellion has actually congealed into a formal new republic relatively quickly. I mean, within months after Endor. And my understanding is this is at a point in the war when militarily they're effectively on the back foot, or excuse me, they're effectively on par with one another, but the Empire is losing momentum. So
Okay.
that's my understanding as far as the table setting for the story. And I think that, if I remember correctly, the campaign is going to be split between a New Republic A squad
Uh huh.
and an Imperial A squad as well. And I think they're going to come into conflict. So
Oh, that'll be nice then.
yeah, well, hopefully. In theory, it sounds good, but
Yeah. No, I totally agree. So about the trailer, have you seen it?
yeah, I saw it. I saw it once or twice. It was great. It's great from what I've seen. I have not. It's been on my phone, so this is like my first time sitting in front of a giant screen, and discussing it with a friend. What about you?
Right. Yeah, well, I kind of skimmed over it one time, but I haven't really watched it in depth. So I'm kind of excited to see what it looks like. Star Wars is usually pretty good about trailers and making things look good. So
Yes, yes,
so
I completely agree. So I
so
think
why don't we
without
go
further
ahead?
ado,
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and press play, and we're going to get into, again, Hunted, a CG short
Ooh.
for Star Wars Squadrons.
Uh,
Dun, 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 dun.
I'm
That's our
excited.
high budget musical accompaniment, by the way. We're a full service operation here. It's impressive. Go
Let's
ahead and
do
like
it.
and subscribe. Okay, 3, 2, 1.
Electronic Arts.
Motive.
Lucasfilm.
Varshan Imperial Dockyards after the Battle of Endor.
All squadrons, on me.
Nice. On Calamarian cruiser.
Formation.
Yeah, straight into spectacle.
Looks like a.
Was that a
okay,
Nebulon B in the middle, though?
The station
Looked like an
No.
assault frigate.
No, I don't think that's
Call off
Nebulon
the
3.
attack.
Nebulon Bert. Nebulon.
Not Nebulon
3.
B. I'm
Squadrons,
thinking of the assault.
disengage.
It's Mon Calamarian cruiser.
Hmm.
That's actually, it's like the ship in Rogue One, the Radis, that Vader
Right.
attacks at the beginning, or excuse me, at the end.
Another retreat.
Another retreat. I love the Imperial klaxon.
Return to the Overseer for extraction. Captain, come in. This is Titan 3. I'm pinned down.
Come on, we still
Oh, he's a
have
bit
time
far
now.
away.
I know he wasn't, now he is.
One more destroyer, Captain. The Overseer is leaving.
I like the planetary shield gate. There's another Rogue One throwback right there. Like during the Battle of Scarif in Rogue One.
Right.
I thought I was done for.
Get to the
TIE
hangar,
bomber.
pilot.
Oh, shit.
It's got those shades.
All stations. Light speed on my mark.
You can make it. You can make it.
Come on.
Oof. Damn. He's not even surprised. This is not the first time this has happened.
No,
He's like,
it isn't.
dang it, Karen, again? Get your white flag out.
That's it.
If only they would scan for life.
He's holding his breath. He won't register.
I love how the targets look like. Are they triangles?
Yeah.
Looked like a heart for a second.
Uh-oh. It's like a shark looking for wounded prey in tepid waters. That looks so weird, just seeing an X-Wing. Just, I get it, it's space, but it looks so fake in a way. Just seeing it, you know. Is it gonna blow? It's just gonna blow up. It's interesting because you never see like post-battle like debris exploration in Star Wars.
Well, because traditionally they're jumping away, right?
True.
Somebody's jumping away, and then it pans away.
Why did he turn his nightlight on?
He needs to sleep. Flaming wreckages.
Yeah, really. I'm surprised he's not on fire. Like inside, he's not cooking inside.
Yeah, with the hole that was in the fuselage.
Yeah, really. It should have ignited the gas and just blew up. Uh-oh. Oh, nice. You don't typically see homing missiles, especially in like Star Wars canon live action.
Enough of this.
You can jiggle a knob and turn it
Sounds
around.
dirty. It's a euphemism. I guess. I mean, what happened if he turned it to the left? I wonder if they were like subtly showcasing one of the abilities of the TIE
But you know, it's an
interceptor.
interceptor, right? It's a TIE interceptor, so maybe that's part of the reason why.
Oh, sure, it's definitely more advanced. But what I mean is, I'm wondering if that's an ability in the game that they just like very quietly.
That's what I was
showcased.
kind of thinking.
Yeah.
And maybe it's exclusive only to the TIE interceptor.
Oh, that's beautiful.
That is. Reminds me of Jedi Fallen Order, actually.
Oh yeah, Bogano. Be funny if this is. You see with that giant creature in Jedi Fallen Order, the giant lizard thing that you can never interact with. That's a beautiful slow-mo moment.
I know, but in reality, he's flying through this like
Yeah, he's getting dust in
valley,
his
and he
face.
took 2 seconds away from looking forward. He probably would have hit a wall.
War's over. Imp.
That sounded like a hick. There's a hillbilly there. He should have hit a tree, like because he was looking to his right for 30 seconds. Pull up, pull up, pull up, pull up!
Oof,
He's fine.
that tickled.
No, he's fine. I am a leaf on the wind. Watch me. Oh, crap. That would have never happened had I been a pilot. I would have landed so far deep in the water. There's no way the tide would have carried me in. He's realizing, I'm stranded here. That was actually a children's hospital.
No.
Calling Tiger Leader. Gray, do you read?
Sounds like his name is Greg.
It's not over yet.
Well, it might be for you.
Not for me.
Oh, no,
Okay.
actually. There you go. He clarified, Bardikins. It isn't over for him, but you feel stupid.
I know, but coolly
Star
putting
Wars
on your helmet.
Squadrons. Yeah.
Coolly putting on your helmet does not mean you're going to make it somewhere safe.
Would be great is if there was so much damage done to his helmet that he couldn't see where he was going, and then he had to take it off again, very awkwardly.
Right, because it's been through so much. Maybe
Yeah.
it's not,
The visor
or you
shattered.
can't breathe in it because the oxygen things are broke. So maybe it's not a breathable mask because it's supposed to have the oxygen, cords attached.
Yeah. Well, what'd you think?
Overall, I think it was neat. I don't think it really showed anything from the game or about the game other than maybe some story teaser or something. Maybe a little bit of teasing about capabilities of ships, but it just seemed like more of a, just a, what would you call it? It was just a show, right? They were giving
Yeah.
a spectacle.
I think this was more of a prelude than, obviously it's not a gameplay cutscene, right? It's
Right.
not, I don't
Says
think
it
this
right
is
there.
a mission. I think that, I think this was more of a, of a prelude of almost like a character snapshot, because this guy, he is a character in the game. I think his last name is Gray. And we'll take a look at him in a minute because his StarWars.com databank was created, which is quite an honor because the StarWars.com databank is typically reserved for characters and things from the films, from The Mandalorian and from the Clone Wars and Rebels. Typically, things in video games and in the other canon works like the novels and graphic novels and things that like the more peripheral Star Wars stories, they're not given that kind of publicity, but he has an official databank entry, and so do some of the other Squadrons elements. So
Okay. So it may be important then.
yeah, so I don't know yet if he's the leader of the squad. Again, my research in this is pretty minimal, but yeah, I think I think this is intended to be kind of an introduction to Mr. Gray here. It's 50 Shades of Gray here, and yeah, I liked it. I tend to be pretty picky as I get older with my Star Wars, and I tend to criticize. I try not to. I mean, but I see missed opportunities being an armchair quarterback here, and but this was excellent. This was very well done. I think it's a tricky thing when you deal with the Empire because this is a time, as I said, where my understanding of the canon is that the Empire is on the back foot. The Empire,
Right.
they're no longer the all-powerful superpower, and putting them in a position where they're the underdog a bit is very interesting because typically we empathize or we our hearts go out to underdogs in situations like this, and yet at the same time this guy works for the Empire and he's defending the Empire and he's trying to restore the Empire's prominence, and the Empire, they're the bad guys. I mean, Star Wars has more moral ambiguity, I think, than oftentimes people will admit, but at the end of the day the Empire is evil. They are bad. And so it's interesting looking at the short because it had an awkward position, and in less than 7 minutes it basically was like, look, we got to make this guy the main character, we got to get you to like him, be interested in his story, and yet we also can't forget about the fact that he's presumably willingly working for the evil fascist authoritarian regime here. So I think it did that without suggesting that he's being whitewashed in any way. So it's very interesting to do all that in under 7 minutes is pretty impressive.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it. I would like to see some more gameplay in the next few trailers or something. You know, they're tying into the story right now, but I'd like to see some gameplay and everything, and
No,
delve a little bit more into the nuts and bolts, as it were.
yeah. Well, you know me, anything I can do to get my hands on some nuts. But you're a video gamer by trade. I mean, so you're definitely more interested in, not that you're not interested in the story, but definitely the gameplay mechanics and the feel and how it all integrates. That's paramount to you. For me, because I tend to suck at gaming. Spoiler alert for everyone out there. Uh, for me, the trailer, is to be effective has to convey the story only. But video games are interesting to me, and we talked about this before because they're the interactive element.
Mm-hmm.
You're not just passively reading; you are, even in a a kind of a linear single player story, you are contributing to the story, even if it's preordained, right? You are playing
Right.
out the story, so it's much more interactive. And so I agree with you that we need to see more of the gameplay. Um, but yeah, I'm interested to see where this goes. Now, for for the two people who are listening right now, maybe one of them isn't aware of this. But the other thing for me that's interesting is the fact that EA is producing this. And I don't know how far you want to go into this rabbit hole, Bardikins, but what do you think of the fact that, again, you said this is a decent short. From what you know, it looks promising. Are you surprised or intrigued that this is EA produced and it looks the way it does?
No, I think EA has a history of doing pretty well when it comes to, I'd say, like animating, actually helping with the videos, putting together marketing materials for their games. I think they fall flat usually in the monetization of their games. That's where most people have an issue with them. So I think that this one is supposedly what, $39.99.
I figured it would be like, I haven't looked at the price. I assumed it'd be $59.99. Isn't that what
I
games are
think
going
that's
for now?
Yeah, $59.99 is what normal price is. But I'm pretty sure I saw the pre-order up for it. I could be wrong, and it was $39.99. I'll have to double check on that.
Gotcha. Yeah,
Yeah,
for me, I mean, just based on conversations that you and I have had and with other members of our friend group, what little I know of EA's history, this does kind of surprise me. And I guess the other thing is because back in 2015, I guess that they were responsible for the very skeletal, very cynical Battlefront remake,
yeah,
which
it was
had
just shot
fun
out in a
gameplay.
year,
Yeah,
right?
they just dropped it to coincide with the release of Force Awakens, which fiscally very brilliant. I'm not going to deny the commercial savvy behind that decision, but not that I don't. I think if that's a game, that barely qualifies. I mean, that was so bare bones.
I honestly didn't play because it didn't look very interesting to me, and I play pretty much all Star Wars games at least a little bit. So
Yeah. I played for like 5 minutes. It was awful. There was no campaign. I mean, it was just, I didn't enjoy it at all. Now,
right,
I do hear Battlefront 2 was started out a lot better and then has since then improved significantly to the point that a lot of people I talk to say that now they would consider it, you know, on the whole, an
hmm
objectively fun, enjoyable experience, which is
yeah,
good.
I've heard that. I've heard that as well. It started off. I think it kind of started off rocky because it had some bad microtransactions, and that kind of set
Yeah.
off the whole that and Shadow of War, the Middle Earth game,
Hmm.
uh, set off the whole fight against loot boxes and predatory monetization in mainstream
Was Shadows
games.
of War an EA game too, or
No, I think it's Warner Brothers, maybe.
gotcha? But it's basically it's a problem that transcends EA. It's like it's an industry
Right,
wide issue. Okay, gotcha.
right, yep. And they kind of happened at the same time. People got fed up, and there was a lot of backlash. So Battlefront 2 did change ultimately, and so did Shadows of War. which has no microtransactions in it anymore. It's also
Fantastic.
old and single player only. So
Well, that's fantastic. Hopefully Squadrons is the same way. Now, I will say from personal experience, not being a video gamer, and we'll probably go, we'll dedicate some more videos to this because I think it merits its own video. Jedi Fallen Order, and I know a lot of that is attributable to Respawn, but that was a fantastic game, both in terms of gameplay and the story progression.
yeah, no,
I mean,
would agree with that.
I wouldn't say, it's an unprecedented video game experience or anything like that, but it was definitely one hell of a step in the right direction, a leap forward, especially with respect to what EA has previously produced for Star Wars in the last couple of years. Jedi Fallen Order is by far the crown jewel, and it'll be interesting to see where Star Wars Squadrons goes. Now, my last question for you on the short and on this game as far as its premise. One thing I noticed in the short, one thing I've noticed in the press about Squadrons, and personally I hope they follow through with this, but I've noticed a distinct lack of one major Star Wars element in this game. You know what it is?
The Force.
The Force. The total, if you just hang on, do you hear that? Listen very closely. You can hear the serene absence of the Force as a major element in this game.
And I hope they keep it that way. Honestly, we need a couple of them. Right?
I agree. We need some what I call secular Star Wars stories. I mean, obviously the Force still exists, right? And I'm sure
and
there
they
will be
can and they can
references.
have like a person in there or a reference to a person, or anything like that's fine. Just not the central focal point, right?
Yeah.
Would be great.
No, I completely agree. I think that it is a mistake. I mean, I believe less is more sometimes. I believe that there are times where you just need to pull back on the Force element. You wear the mystique away the more you expose it. And I hope that Star Wars Squadron stays fairly secular.
I agree. And
so I wanted to take a look here at the data bank entry. I didn't read it yet, but I did pull it up. So the character we saw in the Hunted CGI short is Varco Gray, aka Greg, because that's what I heard during the cutscene.
Sounded like Greg to me.
Yeah, come on, Greg. So Varco Gray. I'm going to read this. It says Varco Gray. Varco Gray started his career as a police officer on Parkella, fighting to keep order in the face of corruption and injustice. In time, he joined up as an Imperial TIE pilot, seeing the Empire as the only hope for a chaotic galaxy. Beating the odds to survive battle after battle, much to the relief of his husband Emery, Gray's skills and experience eventually earned him a promotion to Titan Leader. Over the years, Gray has wrestled internally with the Empire's methods, but he's seen too many TIE pilots sacrifice their lives for Imperial ideals to reject them now. That's a fairly substantive databank entry, especially for a character in a game that hasn't been released yet. Some of the others that we are familiar with, if you were to look through the databank entry, pretty slim pickings. But that's interesting. I think that what do you think about that? Gut reaction based on the official databank. Remember, this is canon. This isn't speculation. This is the officially licensed and approved background synopsis of this character. What do you think?
So they give a lot of in-depth background information on this character in a paragraph. That's actually quite a lot. And so he's going to die in 5 minutes.
Yes. Actually, he's going to be the sacrifice, I imagine, in the second level. They're just going to shoot him unceremoniously. I find this compelling. I mean, again, it's just a background synopsis, so I'm not going to sit here and say, "Oh my, wow, I just have this profound emotional connection to Varco Gray." But the nuts and bolts, as you said earlier, with respect to this, I think they're pretty compelling. So, this is a person who is motivated to keep order in the face of corruption and justice.
Mm-hmm.
The way the sentence is phrased actually suggests that he did experience corruption and injustice. It wasn't imaginary. It wasn't some
Right.
sort of
Right.
fascist, urge. He saw legitimate corruption and injustice, and wanted to step up and join an idealized law enforcement. Little did he know, he was
Right.
dealing with the Empire.
And kind of later on in the paragraph, it seems like he doesn't necessarily always agree with the methods
Mhm.
of the Empire, but he's what, he's locked into it now.
Yeah, yeah. So it's interesting because so Battlefront 2, I didn't play Battlefront 2. I watched the cutscenes, the cutscene compilation, and I do think there were some substantive things there. There was some meat to that story, and some things I think they did really well. But that's for a different video. That said, one of the criticisms about Battlefront 2, the remake, the EA remake that came out 3 years ago, was that the Imperial protagonist flipped to number one. A lot of people had issues that she flipped it all because they wanted a story with an Imperial protagonist from start to finish. And there again, I think that warrants its own conversation, because I get it, but I also understand why people are like, no, that's a bad idea, but whatever. What I hope is that Varco Gray's story trajectory does not imitate the protagonist from Battlefront 2, and I'm blanking on her name. Iden Versio is her name. Interesting character, but she defected to the Rebel Alliance / fledgling New Republic like a third of the way or halfway through the Battlefront 2 game. I hope that this guy does not follow suit. I hope his story goes in different directions. And so just because you said, you pointed out that he's wrestling internally with the Empire's methods, and the databank feels the need to point that out. My hope is that it's not foreshadowing an early defection.
Sure. It's going to be interesting to see where they take it, for sure. Especially when they meet up with, when they start facing off. Perhaps maybe they'll face off with their New Republic counterparts.
Yeah,
I'm
Vanguard
assuming that's
Squadron.
the eventual goal.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's my understanding, and we'll see where that dynamic goes. Alexander Freed, who is he's a video game writer, and I think he's a relatively new novelist. He's written several Star Wars books, the Rogue One novelization, Twilight Company, which was a prologue to the first Battlefront game.
Yeah, right.
It had nothing to do with it. Because there was no campaign in that game, but it was like an introduction to tie in to the Battlefront remake. But he's also written, it's now 2 books in a trilogy. The third one is coming out, I think, early next year. And the trilogy is called Alphabet Squadron. And I was late to the game on that because
it's like alphabet soup.
Yeah, well, yes, and it's just as tasty and nutritious. I was late to the game on those books because just the title of it threw me off, because it's almost seemed like a Fisher Price, Milton Bradley thing.
By Milton Bradley.
Right, like it was some sort of like Star Wars themed pedagogical, thing for toddlers. And so naturally, it caught my interest immediately. No, it took me a long time to give it a shake, because I didn't understand what it was. And I know you're not supposed to judge a book by their covers, but that's why books have covers that are delightfully illustrated, because
that's why they pay the graphic designers, right?
Right. Why the graphic designers get paid more than the guy or gal who writes the book.
Usually.
I don't know that. I don't know if that's true. But anyway, those books are fantastic. And I would argue they are the best of the new canon,
cool,
in terms of the literature. But it's very similar. It deals with a rivalry between a New Republic Starfighter Wing and
Uh-huh.
Alphabet Squadron, and their Imperial counterparts, Shadow Squadron. And in fact, bringing it full circle, the second book, Shadowfall, Alphabet Squadron
Yeah.
Shadowfall, has references to Vanguard Squadron,
Oh,
the
that's
New
pretty cool.
Republic. Yeah, so it ties in. It doesn't like they're not heavily involved, right? Because they have their own story, which is in this game, but there are
Mhm.
references to it there. So there again, much like I hope that Varco Gray's trajectory doesn't imitate the Iden Versio from Battlefront 2, I also hope overall Star Wars Squadron does not imitate too closely the Alexander Freed novels. I really hope canon dares to be a bit bolder. I mean, calculated, right? You don't want them to just be stupid with the continuity and be reckless with it, but not just repackage and repurpose the same storylines in different mediums.
Sure. No, I agree. And it's nice to see a connection between them too, even if it's just vague or,
Right.
you know,
Right.
because most people who consume Star Wars probably do so just through the movies, right?
Right. 100%.
Um,
Yeah.
so it's nice to have like a sort of a unification, for people who consume more than just the movies, right?
Right.
You might see them in a movie or a show or something. You might see references, you might see Easter eggs. Those things are really fun for fans, I think, and bring it all together.
No, I completely agree, and I think there's an art to it, right? So you don't
Hmm.
want to oversaturate your stories with self referentialization. You don't want to make the universe feel smaller, but just name dropping things here and there, very very tastefully and strategically, it does make it seem unified.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, that's Bartikins. That's all I've got. Do you have anything else you want to say before we go to summation about the short, Star Wars Squadron in general, anything like that?
No, I'm good to go.
Awesome. Well, for me, I'll just say this again. I enjoyed the Hunted CG short prelude to Star Wars Squadrons. I think it was a very exciting, compelling 7 minutes of Star Wars, which is great when, arguably over the last 5 years, we've had hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of minutes that have been nowhere near as interesting in various forms of Star Wars. So I think whoever wrote and directed and animated that, they did a great job. Um, I am after Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. EA has a line of credit with me. I probably shouldn't say that because they will, of course, try to microtransactionalize what I just said, but but they have some credibility with me that I am cautiously optimistic. I'm interested to see where Star Wars Squadrons goes.
Yeah, same here. I like the trailer. It looks good. I like what they're doing with the background information. They're putting thought into it, it seems,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm excited to see what happens. I want to play. Let's play. Can we play yet?
Let's play right now. Let's just do it. So,
Let's do it.
let's
Let's
send
do it.
someone send an email to who's the CEO of EA.
Oh gosh, I don't remember.
I don't know. Let's get our people to get in touch with his people, and we'll just
Yeah,
demand a
yeah,
copy up front.
yeah. We're that powerful. We can get our
Yeah.
people. Yeah.
Well, our people's people. Actually, our people will get their people to reach out to him directly. They'll call him at home.
That's
We're
fair.
gonna make it
That's
happen
fair.
right now.
We can do
You heard
that.
it here first, guys. We're gonna play Star Wars Squadron.
No, we're not.
No, we're really not.
We're not.
I
We're not.
apologize. That was
So,
that was
what I'll
misdirection.
say is thank all three of you for listening and watching
Wait,
this. And
our audience has grown that much. We have 3
I'm
people.
being optimistic. I'm being very optimistic right now.
This is as a watershed moment. I'm excited. Thank you guys. Thank you guys and gals, and thank all 3 of you. Thanks for showing up. So, all right, till next time, everybody. This is Gideon,
And this is Bartikins.
and we are Fictionology, and look forward to chatting with you soon. And please remember, like, subscribe, do whatever to lend support. We would appreciate that. And I apologize for how awkward that solicitation was. Hopefully in the future, they won't be nearly as clumsy. So yeah. All right. Fictionology
See you next
out.
time.
Bye.